Yes, so we've seen that the explosion in Libya has pushed prices up, and so that's positive for us, as well as the Azura power plant, which has connected ahead of schedule. It was initially
the first turbine.
Yes,
kind of.
It was initially scheduled to open in 2018, but it started generating power, connecting to the national grid on the 20th of December, and so that's positive, definitely, for just energy and the power sector in general.
But in terms of bad news, and I think bad news seems to sell a lot more and gets people's attention about the petrol scarcity.
Yes. So we've seen some easing in some parts of Lagos, but it's still biting in other areas as Abuja and other states in the nation. But we're seeing that, I saw there was a slide about that before, the government is trying to focus on abating that at the moment, but it's still an issue of supply and pricing, and a lot of things that they just have to consider when it comes to the fuel scarcity.
Let's talk about electricity, and we spoke about that with Jubril Karim from EcoBank, researching it before you came. So this is your table as far as the power generation analysis and impact is concerned. You think we still have critical issues to deal with here with what you now come up on screen. Now, can you take us through that for about a minute?
So the power has actually been, the power generation from the to the national grid has actually been higher than last month. So we've seen an average of 4,000 megawatts. And so it's really just been the improvement in the transfer and the transmission. So initially we're seeing a lot of loss in the transmission level, but now that has been sorted out with the investment in infrastructure. And so that as well as the Azura power plants, and they have a lot more plants that they're looking to open, and dams are looking to open in the new year. So generally, power sector is in a better place than it was a few months ago.
So if we put all of this together with the petrol scarcity, the price of diesel, which has been a little bit kind to us, as it were, hasn't gone haywire as you had petrol or its cousin. And then you have the unemployment and inflation in November, all piled into the month of December, which is the festive season. Not a very good way to say Happy New Year, as it were. But technically, if we take all of this to the market, rice did not sell for 9,000 per bag as promised. I didn't see that at Christmas, so I'm going to take that page from you, from your team, and put that up screen. So that's where we are. Gary is still there. Rice 50 kg is all double digit in thousands.
So it's generally there has been some stability, regardless of the fact that the prices are high. So prices have reached the ceiling, and they didn't increase as much as we would have anticipated given the festive season. And so they were not as low as 9,000, and even that 9,000 was a little bit of a moonshot of a goal. But regardless of that, there's been some stability in prices. I mean, in the last week or two, prices have remained stable. So we do not expect any change in prices until the new year.
So if I put all of this together and we go back to the mystery index.
Okay.
Well, what does the mystery index tell us? If you look at the current situation on our hands in the month of December, and if you look at where we all came from with the unemployment and inflation reading in November, give us a bit of a sneak preview into what the fourth quarter mystery index will most likely look like. How miserable will I be?
Well, so it's important to note that the unemployment figure is a lagging indicator. So what that means, so we have leading indicators and lagging indicators. So oil price, for example, is a leading indicator. So what that means is that there's usually a disconnect, because we see all of the other indicators, GDP, inflation, even the exchange rate. There has been some improvement in all these indicators, but the unemployment appears to be moving in the other direction, but that's really just because it's a lagging indicator. And so what that means is that what we're seeing in Q3 is a response to maybe what happened in Q1, for example. And so we do expect that there would be some bottoming out. We expect that Q4 figures could come out more positive, given that there's been there's been increased productivity, there's been increased activity in the economy. But more focusing on 2018, we expect that there will be some easing in this unemployment figures. We expect that there will be more job creation as the private sector activity increases and everything. So it's really up to the private sector, and that is really where the government needs to come in to step into action.
The private sector. One of the states with the best misery index is Ogun State, and I go back to that. And of course, we have one interview that we're playing for our viewers with the Ogun State Commissioner for Commerce and Industry, which talk about doing business in Ogun State and what have you. Ogun State is next to Osun when it comes to the low level of misery, and that's 36.94 on reading. What's going there in Ogun State based on your data, your survey?
Yeah, so primarily Ogun State is really just because there's been a move from the likes of Lagos, people who want to set up industries, so people who want to set up factories are moving from setting them up in Lagos to Ogun State, given the fact that there's cheaper labor and there's cheaper real estate, and so that is positive for, because also industries are one of the biggest employers of labor, so that is positive for that sector. So we're seeing an increase in manufacturing activity, in just generally the production level. And so that's been positive for labor in Ogun State.
So Ogun State is taking advantage of Lagos? Well, not in that word sense of the phrase taken advantage of, but of course it's an advantage if you sit next to Lagos and you can't see.
Their position and the fact that they're close to Lagos. And so it's just, so people are like, oh, it's just Ogun State, it's only how many minutes away.
So I could just work there and come to Lagos, have some fun, do some shopping, and go back to, well, that seems like it. But if we go back to the worst scenario, and if we can put that back up on screen, Jigawa comes straight after of River State among the most miserable states in Nigeria, and after that is Kaduna. These two states are in the northern part of the country. What's specific about them?
Well, first of all, to take Kaduna first, you know, Kaduna is specializing in agriculture. Their biggest industry is agriculture. But then also because that agriculture is cyclical. So we think most of this unemployment is cyclical unemployment. And because someone who's a farmer is not in business, is not doing work all throughout the year. There's a time when they're doing work and there's a time where there's not that much work to be done. And so we think that a lot of this for Jigawa and Kaduna is cyclical unemployment. And so it's just the effect. So maybe next year and in the early quarters of the year when more activity and there's a planting season, we expect that unemployment would ease in this state.
So these numbers, this misery index is not static?
No.
So it keeps moving quarter by quarter?
It keeps moving. So we have some reshuffling. The person who was third could now be one, or the person who was one could... So it moves. So it just depends on the activity in the state. It's not static.
That's very interesting, and we appreciate your time breaking this down there for everyone this morning. You got the story there as far as Nigeria's misery index. It's called the NMI, National Misery Index from Financial Derivatives. The index reading was higher, 3.7% in third quarter. That's when we have some of the highest unemployment numbers in recent years. The state with the highest misery is River State, and the lowest is Taraba State. And you heard the story about Osun State there. We'll have some time to talk more about that in the future. Thank you very much for coming. Damilare Adeshola from Financial Derivatives. Let's come back after the break. Then we'll talk about Ogun State now. We just heard a little bit about that earlier.